The night she stepped out of the shelter and into the cold, it felt like the world had finally decided she was invisible, like every prayer she had ever whispered had dissolved into the dark air above her. Hannah stood on a quiet street in Columbus, Ohio, clutching a worn duffel bag that held everything she had left, her breath fogging as snowflakes drifted down without mercy, each one landing like a reminder that she truly had nowhere left to go. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment to pause and ask yourself something simple but powerful. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that still happen in this world, please like this video, share it with someone who might need hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can reach hearts that are hurting. Hannah had not imagined her life would collapse so completely by the age of 32. She had once lived in a warm apartment with yellow curtains and a kitchen that smelled of coffee every morning. But grief has a way of eroding foundations, and after her mother passed and her marriage unraveled under the weight of unpaid bills and unspoken pain, the ground beneath her cracked open. She bounced between couches, low-paying jobs, and promises that never lasted. The night the shelter told her there were no more beds, she nodded as if she understood, even smiled out of habit, then walked outside feeling smaller than she ever had before. Her knee throbbed with every step as she moved toward the curb, a reminder of the injury she had ignored for weeks because pain had become normal. The streetlights blurred as tears welled, and for a moment she considered sitting right there on the sidewalk and letting the cold decide what would happen next. Cars passed, their headlights sweeping over her and moving on, and the loneliness pressed so hard against her chest it felt like it might stop her heart. Michael noticed her because he had learned to notice what others missed. A former Marine turned auto mechanic, he had built his life around routines after losing his younger brother years earlier. That loss had taught him how quickly someone could slip through the cracks. On his way home from locking up the garage, he saw Hannah struggling to step off the curb, her face pale, her coat too thin for the weather. Something in her posture reminded him of his brother on the last night he saw him, exhausted and trying not to ask for help. Michael pulled over without thinking it through, the engine idling as snow dusted the windshield. He stepped out into the cold, his boots crunching softly, and approached her with care, aware that fear often lived alongside desperation. Hannah tensed when she noticed him, her grip tightening on the bag, but exhaustion dulled her instinct to run. She was too tired to be afraid, too empty to pretend she could handle another night alone. What happened next did not feel dramatic in the way movies portray rescues. There were no flashing lights or grand gestures. There was only the quiet presence of one human being refusing to look away. Michael offered warmth in the form of his jacket, steady support for her trembling step, and a calm assurance that cut through the noise in her mind. For the first time in months, Hannah felt the weight on her chest ease, just enough for her to breathe. The drive through the city felt surreal to Hannah, as if she were watching someone else's life through the window. Snow gathered along the roads, and Christmas lights blinked on porches they passed, scenes of normalcy that once felt unreachable. Michael drove carefully, glancing at her every so often, not out of suspicion but concern, making sure she was still there, still breathing, still real. He took her to a small urgent care clinic he trusted, then to his sister Rachel's spare room after a few phone calls and quiet explanations. In the days that followed, Hannah struggled with the unfamiliar feeling of safety. She slept in short bursts, waking at every sound, expecting the floor to disappear beneath her again. Rachel greeted her each morning with gentle smiles and warm breakfasts, never asking questions she was not ready to answer. Michael helped her get her knee examined, then connected her with a local church outreach program that assisted with job placement and counseling. None of it erased her past, but it gave her something she had not had in a long time, a future that did not terrify her. Healing was not quick, and it was not neat. Hannah faced waves of shame that came out of nowhere, moments when she felt undeserving of the kindness being shown to her. Some days she cried in the shower, mourning the version of herself she thought she had lost forever. But slowly, with consistent support and the quiet strength she had forgotten she possessed, she began to stand taller. She found work at a small bookstore downtown, a place that smelled of paper and possibility, and every paycheck felt like a victory she had earned with blood and tears. Michael never acted like a hero, and that mattered more than he knew. He checked in without hovering, offered rides when the buses ran late, and treated Hannah like a person whose life still mattered. Their connection was built not on obligation, but on shared understanding of loss and resilience. Over time, Hannah realized that safety was not just a place or a locked door. It was the feeling of being seen without being judged, of being helped without being owned. As the months passed and spring softened the edges of the city, Hannah stood on the steps of her own small apartment, keys warm in her hand, sunlight catching in her hair. She thought back to that night in the snow, to the moment she believed her story was over. She understood now that endings often disguise themselves as beginnings, and that sometimes, hope arrives not as a miracle, but as a person willing to reach out when everyone else walks past. If this story has touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you of a moment when kindness changed everything or made you believe again in humanity, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who might need comfort today, and subscribe so you never miss a story like this. Before the video ends, we have a special request for you. Please leave a comment below with the word hope or share a short thought about what kindness means to you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read right now. Hannah's life did not become perfect, but it became hers again, shaped by grace, effort, and the quiet bravery of one man who chose compassion over convenience. And somewhere in the vast, restless map of the United States, her story continues, a living reminder that even when someone has nowhere left to go, one act of kindness can change the direction of a soul forever.